begun? The MAGA civil war has? Question mark. Well, whilst I wouldn't be quite that dramatic just yet, beyond the title of a YouTube video designed to attract attention, that is, this is absolutely an irreconcilable divide we're seeing here between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, as you don't drop bombs like this unless you're not merely burning the bridges, but salting the ground as you do so. And I did kind of call this, for the simple reason that you don't put two individuals like this, great men in their own regards, with a lot of ego, a lot of achievements, and both utterly convinced that they, and largely they alone, know best, together in a room and ask them to cooperate and expect anything more than a temporary agreement at best. And that agreement has now come to a close, with Elon saying, "At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public." In one breath there, he is accusing Donald Trump of both being a pedophile and also using the powers of the presidency to cover that up. An allegation that he is making in front of, 250 million people? Yeah, this isn't going to be fixed with a quick apology, I don't think. And this comes across as somewhat ridiculous as well, because all we know of Trump's Epstein files is that he rode on one of Epstein's aircraft to Florida, not to the island. And this has been a matter of some record for quite some time, along with Donald Trump's many condemnations of Epstein and him being one of the first people to ring the alarm bells around Epstein's dubious behavior. Trump does not appear to be a friend of Epstein. He does not appear to have ever been much of a friend to Epstein. So why would someone make an allegation like this? Well, genuinely, I think it's because of hurt feelings. I know that sounds puerile and childish, but here's the thing. I believe Elon Musk thought of Trump as a friend, a comrade, or at the very least someone who deeply shared his own beliefs and ideas about how the world can be fixed and made better. And then he believes that Trump betrayed him with the 2.4 trillion extra deficit big beautiful spending bill, and the betrayal of a friend is pretty much one of the most severe mental injuries that can be inflicted on a person, which might explain, ridiculous acting out like this, for example. As well, both of them have acted out to a degree, although Elon even more so than Musk, significantly more so than Musk in fact. And I can definitely see why a lot of the right wing on Twitter today feel a little bit as if Ma and Pa are fighting, with some even hoping that, this rift can be healed. If this disagreement had taken place in public between the two men, then sure, maybe they could have forgotten about it, or done what men do and go, okay, we both fucked up, let's never speak of it again. But this disagreement is taking place in front of a few 100 million people. So, yeah. And once more, the primary divide is the big beautiful bill, which it does have savings in it. In fact, it has quite a lot of saving in it here and there, quite a few cuts to quite a few things. But again, the final number comes out to a $2.4 trillion addition to the deficit, with a $4.3 trillion if the various measures in the bill are made permanent. This is not the bill that Elon Musk wanted. This is not the bill that America needed, and it was passed under dubious circumstances, with allegations coming out now that instead of having the 72 hours to read the bill, which in and of itself is ridiculous, 72 hours to read a proposal for how an entire nation is to be in essence financed is insane. The minimum requirement should be something like 3 months or something. But even the 72 hours was apparently delayed even further, meaning that there were minutes before, of the bill being finalized before debate began, which is, again, utterly ridiculous. Unless our bureaucracy is run by AI capable of devouring a 700-page document in nanoseconds, this is obviously mad on every level. And it goes against everything Elon has been trying to do as well, with DOGE, for example. Now, Elon's been saying this for quite some time, and it makes sense, obviously so. The deficit has now gotten so bad that the interest rate on the various loans is more than America can service. The mere interest on the debt is growing to the point where even just paying it is going to be, in essence, impossible. This is something that in normal people's economy is known as an eternal debt trap. Once you hit about 30% of your income in repayment of debt, you will never get out of debt, so long as you earn that same amount of money. Now, for a nation, of course, it is somewhat different, because it can simply print money, but what happens then? Well, if you are printing more money to pay a debt that only ever increases because you're barely covering the interest rates, you will be printing more money next year, and more money the next year, etc., until the dollar is worth less and less and less and less and less, and you need to print more and more and more money to cover the same debt. You see the problem. Hyperinflation is the only endpoint there, and there has even been suggestions that hyperinflation could be a sort of strategy, by in essence reducing the American dollar to the equivalent of the Zimbabwean and paying off the debt there with a single banknote. But the obvious damage this would do to the US economy hardly bears expanding upon, let's put it like that. To mention the damage to America as a social country, the social networks of the populace. And then you've got stuff like this, too. President versus Elon. Who wins? My money is on Elon. Trump should be impeached and JD Vance should replace him. Yes. Holy hell. And this comes also after Trump said Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy. So Donald Trump's point of view is that Elon knew what was going to happen, and he's upset over the cut of electric vehicle subsidies, which, again, in the same way that this appears to be complete nonsense, this too appears to be complete nonsense, as there are years and years on record of Elon saying, no, remove all of the subsidies, we can't afford them. Subsidies are for a country that's doing well. We can't afford them now. And there is also this one here. The easiest way to save money is in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. And of course, if the contracts with SpaceX are cancelled now, the US's space program in essence ceases to exist, as NASA is not really doing very well these days. These are both of these men, in my opinion, with hurt feelings that are now lashing out against one another, and were still doing it very, very, very publicly. And again, they are saying things that simply don't make sense. Elon himself has repeatedly said that he doesn't want the subsidies. Obviously, he's going to use them if he's being offered them, because duh, not to do so would be idiotic. In the same way that Donald Trump has previously stated, of course, I take advantage of loopholes in tax regulations. Not doing so would be idiotic. And Elon accusing him of being on the Epstein files. In my opinion, these are two deeply hurt individuals that are now lashing out, which is only going to deepen the hurt, and I don't really think this is going to be a divide that will be closed. I would like to see it closed, because I do think Elon is absolutely 100% correct on things like this. The economy of the US needs massive cuts, enormous cuts. As one could of course argue that nobody's ever going to call the US on their debt. Absolutely true, but they don't need to call you on your debt. They simply just need to keep maintaining the debt as it is today, and so long as it is not repaid, the interest alone will see an ever-increasing number of money needing to be paid. And the only way to not pay that money is for the US to go full-on imperialism and wipe its own debts, which... holy shit. The damage that would do to the world's economy, not to mention it would put China and America's strategic enemies squarely in the driver's seat. It does not even bear thinking about, because I don't think it can happen as simple as that. Now, if the US somehow managed to get some form of super coalition with Europe and America and the most of the civilized world to, in essence, wipe everyone's debt and begin a new monetary system, in essence, sure, but again, the amount of damage this would do, the complications of all of this, both on a national level and a personal level, nuclear war is more likely. Straight up, unironically. So it's not going to happen. And again, the simple fact is that it's going to need a lot more cuts than this. But the problems with the cuts is, of course, that Trump is right now in the middle of trying to revisit the American economy, to begin to recreate a manufacturing base in the US. He wants to reduce the trade deficits. He wants to have tariffs to in part pay for some of this, and that might indeed work. And he wants to increase manufacturing in the US, which will in turn, of course, increase the trade benefits he has with other nations, because Americans sell more things. However, all of this needs money, all of this needs investment, all of this needs building, which is going to cost a lot of cash that America may not have. Again, my primary problem with all of this is that, in all due essentiality, Trump has embarked upon a 10-year plan, at the very least, on a 4-year presidency, and he has clearly not either communicated it adequately or revealed it at all, I would imagine, to one of his most powerful supporters. And here's the thing too, Elon was also talking about how without him, Trump would not have been elected, which is also nonsense. I would like to remind you that Elon was originally backing, what was his name? The Texas senator governor, whose name, Ron DeSantis, there we go. He didn't win diddly squat. Elon has endorsed other people as well who didn't win diddly squat. And we remind everyone, of course, that during the whole Hillary thing, she spent, 3 times what Donald Trump spent? And Trump still won. Not to mention all of the complications on the Democrat side with Biden and Kamala. Again, for me, this is clearly two men lashing out in the arena where they should lash out the absolute least. In public, in full view of everyone. And I don't think we're going to see this divide healed. And unfortunately, I do also believe this to be the end of DOGE as we know it. If the department continues to exist, it will probably either be forgotten or rolled into some sort of other governmental entity where it will end up doing absolutely nothing forevermore. It was a brave experiment that I would have loved to see succeed, but in the face of a government bureaucracy that devours trillions like they're non-stop, was there ever any hope whatsoever? Probably not. And on that depressing note, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.